people that would worship the European race subconsciously as God. That's the objective. Pain and fear, the infliction of which would cause the slave subconsciously to worship the European as God. And this was the tools that they would use, the tools of instruction, their kit for a step-by-step infliction of pain on the innocent slave, so that the slave's children would eventually worship the European as God in their subconscious, but never consciously know what they were doing. This is one of the greatest, or the greatest crime ever committed by human beings, so-called human beings, against human beings. The infliction of fear and terror in babies for hundreds of years, and images, false images of God put before the babies to worship, so a race of people can be falsely worshipped as God. The slave masters used science. They knew that if they could put fear in the minds of the slave, that slave...
Okay, this is what happened. Let me hear you guys on something. The Europeans, after studying in Egypt with the Egyptians, found out that the human mind took on knowledge from its observation of nature, which means that what you train your eye to believe is actual and non-temporal, meaning that you really believe it's your reality or what you're seeing, is what becomes a conceptualization of you. So now light will be with the eye and sound will be with the ear. That's the reason for those two parts of the human anatomy being displayed right here in this set with the brain on top. The light goes in through the eye, makes an impression in the brain. Sound goes in through the ear, makes an impression in the brain. You can see them both going right to that center right there. That's about where your pineal gland is connected at in your brain, somewhere in that area. I'm sure that's the reason for the trajectory of the points going right there, showing you that they both got sent to a central point, a central center, if you will. My point being is this: through light and sound, knowledge is introduced to the human entity. The Europeans, knowing this from studying in Kemet, ancient Kemet, Egypt, with the Kemetic teachers explaining to them that a person's conceptualization is entered this way, they use light and sound starting way early with slavery through force of atrocious acts, and given this is going to be self-explanatory when I start it back up. But I wanted to throw that in there with you so you guys could get an extra weapon to be able to get a full understanding what the narrator is bringing in this segment here, okay? Pardon my interruption, I'm just trying to be helpful.
Children of those slaves would be reborn with that fear in them, and that fear would affect what they see and what they hear. This was science used on the slave. If they put those images and affected the mind, it would affect what they see, what they hear, and exactly what they do. It was a science of the mind that was used on the slave. Images, the Bible, and the illiterate. Images are the Bible of those without education. You read the Bible, but...
Okay, one more interruption so I can help you guys with this. You see, they made it illegal for someone to teach that educated African people that had all the knowledge that they could receive from the sunlight coming to them. Here's the problem. If you're receiving knowledge from the sunlight and you have no way to bring that knowledge into manifestation, meaning if the sun is telling you to make a sculpture, but you can't make a sculpture because you got somebody putting chains on you all damn day, and so everything about energy you're receiving from your natural God gets stagnated, and then the only thing that you receive from the phony temporal world is what you see going through his eyes right there. So when the sunlight comes through his eyes, it was nothing he could do about it because he's a controlled person now. He can't build stone statues no more. He can't build pyramids no more. He can't even sex his own woman anymore. So what happens when all that stuff is eradicated? They give you the Holy Bible. And then they use things like the cross that I showed you in the sunlight in my other video to bring it home, because they know that cross is something that's a part of your genetic makeup that you already know about subconsciously in your mind. And so when you see the cross with this white man hanging on it, it's all going to come home and really start to make phony sense to you, but sense, because it's become your conceptualization of reality, because it's induced to you now by this animal who has taken control of you and removed you from your natural center of nature and given you a false nature. And it's called religion.
The images are collected in your mind, and the images stay in your mind. What you read may go away. This is carved on the walls in this city thousands of years ago by the black man of Asia to tell the story of the apocalypse. A book that would be revealed by this individual whose name you will find out in a short while. He is the future Buddha, the one who unveils the book of Revelation in a stone city, bringing the past and the future together. Now that we understand the science used to get the desired results of the false worship of the European as God by a group of slaves and their descendants, forever and ever if possible. Now, let's continue with the story. Once again, on the stone walls, we see the African and the Europeans in combat, fighting to prevent their people from going into slavery. To confirm this is an African people, on the right you see the djembe, a very popular African drum. And on the left you see the African talking drum, not the European, not the Asian, but the African talking drum carved on the walls to show that this was an African people who were carried off as captives. Here it is on one panel with 3 levels. The war that took place in Africa thousands of years before it happened, carved in stone, bearing mute testimony to what really happened. Here is how the European artists of that time interpreted that event with his pen. The same event in the British Commonwealth, testifying to what they said that they did at that time to the black man. Here, the testimony from a rock in this hidden city tells exactly what happened, which was known by the gods. The testimony in silence from a stone and from a paper in the British House of Commons. I just interpret what they said that they did with their pen to the mothership. I just interpret what they said that they did with their pen to the mothership. $1,200 for Negroes. Negroes for sale, according to these documents, the authentic official documents. There are no lies here. The paper speaks loud and clear. Valuable slaves for sale. Mulattress, mulatto. Sarah, Dennis, Fanny, mulatto. Mulatto. Blacks, mulatto, Creole. What kind of man is this that sells his own babies and anybody else's babies? Good God Almighty. Here we see he not only sold your baby and my baby, but he sold the flesh of his flesh and the bone of his bone.
Okay, the flesh of his flesh and the bone of his bone. Imagine that. Now look what we're looking at here. We're looking at all the complexions. We're looking at how you can see these black people here standing in the back as slaves. We all know that's what they are called, but what they are is victims. They are victimized of animalistic cruelty by the Europeans, the criminal nation of this planet. Now, if you see these little kids right here, you see the one in the middle is obviously a real melanated child. But the ones that's surrounding him on the outside is children that I bet you were birthed from a black woman. The reason why I would say that is because they were not in big favor of black men impregnating white women. Take my word on that. So the only reason why you see these white children called mulattoes in this picture is because some black woman was forced to have intercourse with the white man, and since she was a black woman and these were her children, they of course are black too. So the reason I'm saying that is because all you mulattoes running around out there that think you're going to win favoritism by the white corruption, by trying to stick to your white side, the only thing you're going to do is get punishment from the Son, who is the original creator, and going to see that wickedness in your heart, because to be accepted by the European devil means that you have to be one. So when you try to eradicate your black side and join the white side, just like these children right here had the harsh awakening of who they really were in slavery days, because they didn't get no choice to try to decide or pick what side they wanted to be on, because they didn't have it like that. They were just right away victimized, regardless to how close to white they were. They was constantly reminded of their original state of being and existence. So I'm saying this for all you Mexicans out there that try your best to try to be white and try to overlook your black side. You go ahead and do that. You have the right to. But all you're doing is passing down fraud. And all you are is remnants of what you're looking at in this picture right now. Now, I hate to be the one to drop that on you, but it's really the truth. Because in case you don't know, these pictures were taken here in America. And the black people that were made slaves here and were forced to breed and have children of mixed races or mixed complexions, all of the offsprings from that is the mulatto group of people who grew up and were told that they were Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, everything that's non-white, but has remnants of their black originality inside of them. So some of you guys who was a little bit more soft than North America, they got conquered and colonized by the Spaniards. This is the same thing you went through right here. They hid that from you and tried to make you believe that there was never a slavery part of your history. That's only to make you think that you're better than your other side, that they show proof of being enslaved up here in the North. Trust me, you were enslaved down there too. Trust me on that. That's the reason why there's so much deprivation and poverty, and the true remnants of your past has been destroyed and eradicated. And that's the reason why you speak Spanish and you don't speak Mexican, because you never was a Mexican, or you would have a language that goes along with being called a Mexican. You are a Mexican that speaks Spanish because your idea of a Mexican came from the same place your language came from those conquering Spanish conquistadors that has fooled your brain and confused you, just like what this movie is telling you. Everything about this is telling you the history of America and what happened to the people that were brought here and the people that was here at the arrival of the Europeans, how we have all been brainwashed and dichotomized to see ourselves as being other than the one family that we are.
Imagine the unbridled license they inflicted on the black ones. The great divide of the black family, the separation, according to what they say that they did, separating the black woman from her baby. Here she is in the history books of America, giving away her baby to a people who she knew would commit every type of the worst crimes of passion with malice that the human mind could think of, with unbridled license, according to their own words. This is the history of the black woman and her babies in the United States of America. By their pen, by their own admission, and by the stones of the Africans of Asia, the black woman giving her baby away to a known beast who had already inflicted the same pain on her.
Look how sad this is. Look at the despair right here in this person. Now this is in stone in Asia. They carved this in Asia in stone. This is the magnitude of the consciousness of the black man and woman. Our melanin puts us in constant contact with universe.